up, everybody? It is your boy, Uncle Greg, and we are back with another live stream of something out of nothing. My bad, I got the mic out the way. This is episode, I believe, 6. We're focusing on this NFL season, and we cracking in with that top 10, Unc's top 10, and this is after 11 weeks of action. So let's get right into it. Yeah, and after this, I will also give my pick for today, and I got to go over my picks for the weekend, so that video will be coming soon. But for this one, Unc's top 10, of course, the insights and why, and then my pick for tonight's matchup. So let's get started. Coming in at number 10, we have the San Francisco 49ers. They're ranked 10th in yards per game with 349, second in passing yards per game with 254. They are 2 for 3 on fourth quarter comebacks and game-winning drives. So they're taking advantage of when they have the opportunity, only failing once when it comes to game-winning drives for that offense. Mind you, they have been without their starting quarterback, so that's pretty intense to, do without your starter. So you got to give them their props. That's why I am putting them in on my top 10. Following that, we have the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions sitting at 5-3, slide down 4 spots after their loss last week, but I'm not dropping them out of the top 10. And here's some numbers why. They're 9th in passing yards per game with 236, 5th in passing yards per play with 7.1, 7th in rushing yards per game with 130, so they're still getting it done on both sides of the ball. Defense, 10th in points per game given up with 21.6, 5th best in yards per game with 291 given up, 11th in QB pressures with 135, so they are getting after the quarterback. Some insights on them. They're 0 for 1 on game-winning drives and fourth quarter comebacks this year. So, Jared Goff, you got to tighten up if you want to get these dubs in these. When the playoffs come, you're going to face more competitive teams, and these scores are going to be a lot more closer, and you're probably going to have to come back on a fourth quarter comeback. So, you better be ready, Jared Goff, once the playoffs come. Right now, they are 2-3 against teams above 500. So a little bit below 500 when it comes to facing tough teams. But, what can you do? At least they're showing up when it is necessary, and their record shows it. But only 2 wins against teams above 500. So we'll see if they can improve, which I'm sure they will. Let's check out the next team, and that's going to be the Chicago Bears. Chicago Bears jumping into the top 10, averaging the 4th best yards per game with 373, 2nd in rushing yards per game with 146, 10th in passing yards per play with, I don't have that stat, but they are 10th in passing yards per play. Insane. Couldn't believe it. Didn't think, what's it called? Caleb Williams was going to be able to adjust to the new coach's system, Ben Johnson's system, but he's done it pretty well. And he's executing where he wasn't before. He's getting these easy passes and just spreading the ball around. So you got to give him love there. Defense, the 4th worst rush yards per play given up with 5.2 per rush. 3rd worst in passing yards per play given up with 7. 7th most plays, can't talk right now, of 10 plus yards at 38. So they're getting these dubs despite their defense. Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams have synced up and are leading division currently in their standings. They have 5 fourth quarter comebacks on 5 game-winning drives. So they're clutching up. They're clutching up when needed. So next up, we have the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bills 2nd in yards per game with 387, 4th in points per game with 29, 1st in rushing yards per game with 147. Seems like their offense is doing it when they need it, but their defense is their Achilles heel, as they are 12th in yards per game given up with 322, middle of the pack at 14th points per game given up with 22, but they are the 2nd worst in rushing yards per game given up at 153. So teams are able to rush on the Bills. So if you want to beat them, keep Josh Allen off the field, take some time off the clock. Right now, Josh Allen leads the NFL with 28 offensive touchdowns. James Cook has reached 95 scrimmage yards in 3 of his last 4 games, including season-high 216 yards against the Panthers. Cook's 3 games of 95-plus yards since Week 8 are the most in the NFL. So they're trying to take a little bit off Josh Allen's plate, giving James Cook the ball. They are killing it on the ground, so they're just trying to stay consistent with that, and I respect that. Buffalo Bills at number 7. Next up, we have the Indianapolis Colts sitting at 8-2. The offense first yards per game with 396, first in points per game with 32, third in rushing yards per game with 145. Jonathan Taylor tearing it up on the ground. They're not leaning too much on Daniel Jones. As you see, he's been messing up, causing a couple interceptions his last few games when he sees some pressure, like especially against the Pittsburgh game. They are 2-2 against teams above 500. 2 wins, of course, against the teams above 500 of their 6, or of their 8. So they have 6 other games against inferior teams, able to take advantage. Bears OC is the real deal. Yeah, the head coach is a killer, dude. I see you, Raw Dog. See you, Justin. Appreciate you coming in on the chat. But yeah, so the Colts defense, 8th best in yards per game given up with 300, 5th in points per game given up with 18. So if you're allowing teams, holding teams underneath 20, you should be a pretty good team, and you should be able to get some dubs, which they have. They're first in rushing yards per given up with 84. That is surprising to me. I didn't think they're owning the ground game like that on defense, but they seem to be. They are 3-1 against teams above 500, and that's why they're still in the top 10, regardless of recent losses that they've suffered. Next up, we have the New England Patriots. My bad, almost skipped over the notes. New England Patriots, their offense, surprisingly, with the Mike Vrabel at the helm, 9th in yards per game with 357. They're not even getting it done on the ground, which it's surprising. I thought they would try to own that. I just feel like the dude's a smash and pound type of coach. But they're 20th in rushing yards per game with 112. They're getting carried by Drake May, who has the 7th best passing yards per game with 244. 244 for oh boy, that's Drake May. That's pretty crazy. Yeah. Colts defense has been solid the last handful, or not the last handful, but they've been pretty solid. I remember that safety from back in the day when Peyton Manning was there. That they've been pretty solid on defense, but just didn't think that their defense was owning the line like that. Had to respond to my boy Raw Dog. The reason why they're in the top 5 for New England Patriots, for their defense, they're 8th best in points per given up, yards per given up at 300, 5th in points per given up with 18, first in rushing yards per given up with 84. So New England, just they're looking like at least statistically a pretty solid team, and teams should fear them. They're 3-1 against teams above 500. They're far from what I mentioned in the last week's video. Far from the game they played against the Raiders. They're a top 5 team, and we'll see if they can hold on to that. This one is a surprise to my own self. The Denver Broncos sliding in at number 4. Hey man, don't be hating. Hey, I see my homie Bear in the chat. They've been sliding in and out. You know that. So Denver Broncos at number 4 at 9-2, 13th in yards per game given up, earned. 13 in yards per game earned at 335, 17th in points per game at 23, 11th in rushing yards per game at 122. So they're not beating everybody on offense, that's for sure. I don't like Bo Nix, but their defense, 4th best in rushing yards per game given up at 88. First in rushing yards per play given up with 3.6. 5th in 185 passing yards play. 5th in passing yards per play given up. Passing yards per game given up at 185. So their defense is keeping them in these games, and I don't like it. Like I said, I don't like them here, but they've proven themselves at 9-2. 8 consecutive wins, tied with the longest streak next to the Patriots. They are 1-2 against teams above 500, so that's why I'm a little weary about putting the Denver Broncos this high. But, you nasty. I see you, Rilla Roo. The only reason why I put the Broncos above the Patriots is because the Broncos have had a lot, or more recently against the Chiefs, they've had better wins. I think Jets played the New England Patriots played the Jets last week, so I had to put them down. The Patriots only have 2 wins against teams above 500, so that's why they're sliding there. Um, Cowboys at 11. They had my love early in the season when they were getting a bunch of points, but I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that team. At number 3, we have the Seattle Seahawks 7-3. Their offense 6th in yards per game with a 365. Third in points per game with 29. Sam Darnold's getting that ball in the end zone. And they're not doing it with the ground game, which I'm surprised. 29th in rushing yards per play at 3.8. So Sam Darnold carrying heavy the load. Defense right now, 9th best in yards per game given up at 301. 6th in points per game given up at 19. Holding teams under 20, which is pretty solid. 5th best in rushing yards per play allowed at 3.9. The Seattle Seahawks are 2-3 against teams above 500. So, you would like to see better than that, but I mean they're playing against a pretty good division. They lost against the Rams last week, and that's why I don't drop them too high. They went from 1-3. Jackson Smith-Njigba has 829 receiving yards on throws of 10 or more on air yards this season, 247 more than any other player. So Jackson Smith-Njigba and Sam Darnold getting it done for the offense for the Seahawks, and that's what's getting them here in the top 3 remaining. And the last two. I'll check the chat right now after we finish this up. Philly 8-2. I jumped them up highly because you'll see why. Because look at their offense, dude. 25th in yards per game, 300. 16th in points per game with 23. 17th in rushing yards per game with 115. These are not impressive stats. They're not even above the top 15 in offense and a lot of their stats. Defense even. You're thinking, okay, well, then maybe it's their defense. Defense, 18th in yards per game given up, 8th in points per game given up with 20. So that's, holding teams around 20. They're being able to, when they're scoring points per game is 23, they're closely beating teams. They're 19th in rushing yards per given up at 114. So they're not really owning really much. That's why I don't really understand how they're winning these games. Some insights for the Eagles, though. Jalen Phillips, the guy they traded for, generated 7 pressures and 6 pressures in Week 10 and Week 11 with the Eagles, respectively, after failing to surpass more than 6 pressures in any of his 9 games played with the Dolphins. So that trade that the Eagles ended up making is working out. And here is the stat of the reason why I had the Philadelphia Eagles so high. They are 4-1 against teams above 500. You got to respect that stat. They have the most wins, or the best record against teams above 500, but they're not my number 1 team because I just don't like seeing them play. It's just not exciting. They play ugly, and they find ways to win, and you got to respect it. That's why they're at number 2. But at number 1, we have the LA Rams sitting at 8-2 with an impressive win last week against the Seattle Seahawks. Although they had 4 interceptions, they still could have lost the game against Seattle, but that's because Seattle has a pretty solid defense. You saw those numbers. Offense right now for the Rams, 8th in yards per game with 360, 7th in yards per play with 5.8, 4th in total touchdowns with 35. Matt Stafford killing it. I know my boy James Montez likes to blame Matt Stafford for a reason why the Rams fail a lot. But when you're having to be depended on a lot like he is, I mean, it's just going to be in your hands. Just like an NBA player, have the ball in his hands. He's going to shoot, he's going to miss, you're going to blame him. So I get why Matt Stafford gets the blame, but in my opinion, it's wrongly placed. He's legit. Defense, 13th in yards per game given up with 323. 2nd in points per game given up at 17. The defense is killing it. 7th in passing yards per play allowed with 5.7. The Rams have rarely blitzed this season, setting 5 or more pass rushers on just 21.5% of dropbacks, 5th lowest in the NFL. Regardless of that, when rushing with 4 or fewer, they have recorded 11 unblocked pressures, tied for the 5th most in the NFL, and have turned 3 of those into sacks, tied for the 4th most in the NFL this season. They are 4-2 against teams above 500. 1 more loss than the Eagles, but I'm not taking that against them. They look really good this season, and that's why they are my number 1 ranked team this so far after 11 weeks. Oh, we got a phone call. Chat. Let's see who this is. Let's see who they want to talk about.
My name is DaddyFatStacks.
Oh, DaddyFatStacks on the speaker. I think I want to accept it.
At any time, you may press star to join the call.
All right, we got our first call, ladies and gentlemen. I gotta mute my mic so you can hear this gentleman talk. DaddyFatStacks, you there? You hear me?
Yeah, this is me, man. I think you need to swap the Rams and the Bills.
The Rams and the Bills. Let me know why. Why do you think I need to swap the Rams and the Bills? You tell me.
No, I think Josh Allen's top tier. He always has been. Was he MVP last year?
Yeah, I think he was MVP.
He'll hold up. I think you like the Rams, low key. I feel like you're a Rams fan.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I like the way their offense moves, and I like the way the Bills' offense moves. But the Bills have played really terrible on Thursday nights, and guess what? They played today Thursday night, so they'll have to prove themselves and their worth against my opinion so far. Yeah, their offense is really top notch. I definitely get that, but their defense can't stop the run. So, in my opinion, as a full team, that's why the Rams have at number one. Like, if you look at the teams in front of them, their defenses are solid. Most of the teams are solid, and their offense has been competing. Where the Bills kind of just rely on Josh Allen. Actually, they used to rely on him mostly, but now they're throwing it on James Cook's shoulders as well. You see their rushing game, I think 148 per game. So, I mean, I like the Bills a lot.
Hey, Uncle, who's your Super Bowl pick?
Super Bowl pick. Dang, he's trying to get it. Okay.
I'd say Josh Allen's right there. Josh Allen or the Eagles?
It's gonna. That would be a great game right there. Buffalo versus Eagles. I listen to sports talk radio, and these dudes call in every day on every Monday for $1 million pick, whatever, and they got to pick teams. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I have not heard one person say Buffalo Bills and the Eagles. So that's a rare. I'm not gonna say rare pick, but the first time I heard it, you know what I'm saying. I listen to a lot of sports talk radio, so I hear you. Or I'm sorry, DaddyFatStacks. What's up?
You think the Ravens creep in and make a run?
With their terrible start, that's why they're not out. That's not why they're here in the top 10. But they could definitely creep in. I mean, all they got to do is get in the playoffs, and then once the playoffs come, it's a crapshoot after that. So, anything else you'd like to say before we move on?
No, man. I appreciate the stream, man. It's great. It's top tier right now.
Hell yeah, I appreciate you with the call, DaddyFatStacks. Well, till next time.
For sure.
All right, peace out, my G. Well, that was our first call, baby, and I loved it. So hope we can get more. I do got to give my pick for today. Let's see. Oops, shit. We can let that rock right there. Let's go. Who's playing today? Let me see my phone. I know it's the Buffalo Bills, but I forgot who they're playing. Where's my phone? Oh, it's right here. Let's see. Yahoo Sports. That's where I get a lot of my quick little data. Yahoo Sports. It's quick. I like that app. Let's see. So we got the Buffalo Bills taking on the Houston Texans. So for the pick, I'm going Buffalo. They're just a better overall team. But the spread is -5.5. Houston Texans does have a pretty good defense. And I already told you about Thursday nights and Buffalo Bills. They seem to be their Achilles heel. So I don't think that they're going to be able to win more than 5.5 points. Take those points. Houston +5.5. My pick for the night, though, for the pick'em, going for Buffalo Bills. So that's my pick for this tonight's matchup. Let's see what happens. I don't have my records and stuff ready, so I'll throw that up on the pick'ems or when I make my picks for this weekend's games. I'll let you guys know my status on that. But I have a pretty good pick'em record as far as my spread. I'm catching up. I think I'm 9 games below 500 on the spread, and that is difficult to say the least. But let's check out the chat and see if we can answer some questions or see what's going on here. Oh, now I don't see. Damn it, because I left it. I can't see what was being said earlier. All right, it's all good. Appreciate everyone tuning in, all the homies. DaddyFatStacks with the first call. I know my boy James Montes might like them ranked at number 1, might not. Dude's a little finicky. You're overrating them. You're jinxing them. Hey, dog, what is my voice gonna do? They got to play on the field. They got to prove themselves. You know what I'm saying? And they have. So, see y'all later.